Okay, I got everything apart on the steering on the 520 and found some things out here. First off, Matt, I don't know what in the hell you're talking about. Right here we want to machine some of this off on the bottom, and this will tend to drop this down, which will make this gear engage on this one. Now how in the hell you think that's going to change this clearances when that shaft that's going through here is fixed, as is this one? I've already showed you that there is plenty of distance up on top the steering wheel, between the steering wheel and the dash when it goes through. But all that does, all we're going to do here is by lowering it down, we're going to make that engage better. Anyway, what I found on some of these parts, I don't really have that much gap on the shaft here when it goes in here. It's not that bad. It's not that, well, I can't rock that much. The other thing is, through here, I found, and hard to hold the camera and do that, there is not much motion in this gear, this shaft going through here. However, check this out. See if I can hold. Kind of hard to see how I'm moving this little gear. This one's not budging. I don't know if that's a keyway problem there or what. I'll check that out. Also, on this span gear arrangement, see if I can get this one propped up. Alrighty. I got a lot of slop right here. Check that out. I don't know what's that, maybe 2, 3, 4 thousandths. This piece is probably about 1 inch wide. I've went all over and tried to find some shim stock. Yeah, or you might be able to. Yeah. There you go. You can see a little bit better how much we got there. I took that shim off of there so you can see a little bit better. I don't know, that might be 4 to 6 thousandths. I'd have to check it out, but I went all over to look for shim stock to put in there. I suppose you could mic this, and probably the right way would be to bore that. And if you're going to put a bushing in, then you're going to have to mess around with the zerk. You're going to have to drill all the way through there, and you're going to have to get grease in there, and that's all good. But I'm wondering what would happen if a guy would take some like a feeler gauge material. I tried to find shim stock today and I just can't. I'm gonna take a piece of feeler gauge and go in between there and see what I can, after I clean all these parts up, and see what I can do there. And I think that'd make a difference. Right here I'm going to fix this. Whatever's making this gear is just a little sloppy here. And I think if I were to get this, I have a belt sander per se that I could set this on. I could take a few thousandths off of this bottom. I'm not so concerned if it's not really even. If I bolt this thing down through these bolts, I think I can get it flat enough just running it on that belt sander, setting it right down on there. And I think I could get enough off of that, a few thousandths off, to make a pretty big difference to tighten that up. I've also got right here that bearing here, and I was able to get this the shaft bearing that's on top of that steering shaft right here. you can see that's loose too. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try that first, get all this crap cleaned up. Got a lot of grease on a lot of these parts, and see if I can get some of this cleaned up and tighten this up around. Toro, or the Wheel Horse dealer, didn't have this block in stock. It'd probably take 4 or 5 days, but little as that is, you can almost take really easily just take after I find out what it's going to take, if you do it in half, you'll have to double it. I'm thinking maybe a 1 or 2 thousandths feeler gauge and wrap it around there, and it, would take that up. Really, the reason that all these parts are as bad as they are is just like the damn engine. The guy didn't take care of it, and I had a leak on the engine drain tube that was just right back and forth, and oil got all over this whole thing. And when it did, he just drove it, and mowed with it, and got it all goofed up. He ended up all that grit in there just got like toothpaste in all these parts, and it just wears them out. And I'm thinking I could tighten a lot of this stuff up with just kind of cobbly, but probably the proper thing would be to do is drill everything out and bush everything, and I might sometime do that, but I just want to at first see if I can tighten this thing up, and it would probably, for right now, till I was to get the parts, I could probably go ahead and, the damn repair would probably outlast me, being it's not going to be used anytime in any dusty environment. Well, that's what I think. Give it a whirl. Matt, may the best man win. Let's see who gets it the tightest. Duke over and out. Okay, I've got this fan gear and this bearing block fixed up, cleaned up, I mean. Look how much gap is in that right there. Okay. What I've done is I've taken a 5 thousandths piece of feeler gauge, trimmed it off. That's the washer that goes on top there, spacer I should say. And I'm going to show you, I've already tried it, and you're going to be amazed. It's not quite as thick as this whole surface. I wish I could get some material that was as thick, but that's kind of good because it's going to allow some grease to get in around it. I also left an opening in this, as you can see. When that goes in there, it presses it a little further, of course, but when that shaft's in there, it presses it, and I've left enough area for grease to get around. So I'm going to shut the camera off and show you what I got. Okay, I've inserted a shim in here, and see if we can get, there is hardly any slop in here. This thing rotates real nice, and I'm thinking that right there is gonna, there's just a tad, very little, that's probably 1,000 slop, but nothing like it was before. I'm gonna call that good right there. I found some wider shim stock, a little wider piece, and I left a gap in there, so when it rotates around, it'll get some grease inside there. So I'm going to call that good right there. I think that repair will probably outlast me. Okay, this is the steering shaft. I've got it cleaned up, and if you can look at this bushing, right here is about where it rides. You might be able to see where the collar locks in right here. But right here you can look at, there's quite a bit of slop right there. This is the new flange bearing that they call flange. Little bit of slop there, not as much, but there's still probably more than I'd like. It doesn't matter where you slide it under shaft, so it's not as this one here. There's all kinds. Okay, well, that's helped out some. Now, what we'll do is we'll look at this. I don't see a lot of play in this shaft through that whole arrangement. There's a tiny bit. But what I did see is this gear on the end. How that works, that is a square. It's got square shoulders on each side. And when it slips on over, it's got just a little bit of a wobble. Just a little. I'm thinking on one of those sides, or both, you could put just a hair of a shim stock, which is what I'm going to do. That's probably about, I think that'd be coming in good for a feeler gauge here. Some of that. It'll lay right in there. Right or left, that's not going to matter much when that thing hits that gear at all. That's so close. That's so close. Now, the other thing is I think we're good here. When that's in there, you can see, see daylight through here or not. There's a little bit of daylight, but when that's pulled tight, gosh, I don't see how there's much. That's going to be good on those teeth. I don't think that's bad at all right there. So, that pretty much sums it up. And I did get, for the other end of this shaft that goes through there where the fan gear goes, at the other end I did get this bearing that'll attach well underneath here now, as I've got that strapped down here with a clamp. I did get that, so that pretty much is all the bearing surfaces that I've seen. I think we're in pretty good shape here. I'm going to go ahead and clean up for the night and probably come out here and paint some parts tomorrow and see if I can get this thing going. But I have pretty good thoughts on this thing. That she's going to fly. Okay, catch you on the flip-flop. I'm out. Okay, here's something I thought that would, I've kind of forgot about. I don't know if you can see that or not in this end, but that is eccentric. It kind of has two flat sides on the end of that new bushing, or flange bearing as they call it. When you slip it up in here, it has to be in the right spot in order to go. Now, what would happen if a guy would put a little JB weld around that collar and put that in there? We just slide the shaft in, the steering shaft, and then that collar up around there and hold that in place. If a guy was to put just a little bead of JB weld around that and put that in there, that would keep that from moving. That would help a little bit too, I think, to take up that gap. You don't want to get any on the inside of the bearing where the shaft is, but just a little bit around there, if a guy was to put that in there, that might help. I just wanted to add that. Okay, here we are over on my bench, and I wanted to show you this steering shaft support. I want to show you how I don't think it really has to be milled. This thing is such a precision piece. We got 0.555 over here. We have 0.543. In this corner, 0.555. That's not bad. Same as the other one. Check this one out. This is, I think, the smallest one of them all. .502. As you can see, that thing is out of whack. When I put this on the belt sander here, I'll see if I can bring those a little tighter to each other all the way around. But being that far out of whack, I don't think she's gonna, to be honest with you, I don't think it's gonna matter much, just as long as we get this down. I'm probably gonna try to take about 1/16 of an inch off of this, and we'll see how that works. Very good. Signing off. Okay, here we are in Duke's high-class milling machine. We'll work this high-speed precision equipment until we get this thing right where we need to be. Machines like this and Sluggo that helps get the job done. Over and out. Okay, here we are. I got this, I ground for a while, and this did a little sandblasting on it too. I got a few more thousands to take off, but just to show you where we're at here, we're making ground. Fuck. 480, what do we got, 480? Somewhere in there. Right here we got, roll that up. .486, 487. That corner. .483, 484 right there. A lot closer than the other one. Let's see here. .487 right there. Now we're probably about within 5 thousandths on all the corners. So we'll like to take about another 17,000 off of that. Like to get her down to about 470, maybe 465, and we'll call her good. I think that'll tighten the steering up. Signing off.